Welcome to Electrified. It's your host, Dylan Loomis. Apologies for missing yesterday's video. Was fully planning on getting one out, but it was an unexpected night for me to say the least, and eventually I'll fill everybody in. I was not able to get a newsletter out either, and what can I say other than sometimes things happen, and I appreciate your understanding. According to new data from Mark Lines, a company that provides auto insight, said in the 12 months through May of this year, Tesla sold around 618,000 cars in the US. That's compared with about 597,000 fully electric cars sold by all other manufacturers. Thus, this Bloomberg article is highlighting that sometime this year, Tesla actually may lose its EV market share majority that it's had for over 6 years. But as we've said for years, Tesla's share of the US EV market cannot stay over 50% forever. It's really just math as more players come into the market. And I think this is a good reminder that Elon and many Tesla execs have also said the number to focus on is Tesla's share of the overall auto market, not just the EV segment. Now, would we like Tesla sales in the US to be a bit better? Would we like them to have a more affordable vehicle? Absolutely, but something like this was bound to happen. It really was just a matter of time and math. We got Tesla China's production number for May. It came in at 67,309. Looking further down the table right here, P is for production. So for months January through May of 2024, Tesla is currently at 354.7 thousand vehicles produced. That compares to the same time last year when Tesla was at 381.9 thousand. So this year when it comes to production in China, Giga Shanghai is down 7.7%. A reminder, W is for wholesale and D is for domestic. I would not be making the argument Tesla is selling every car that it makes right now, because even if eventually all of the cars Tesla makes do get sold after going through inventory for a time, Tesla is not making every vehicle it can make right now. Giga Shanghai, Giga Texas, and likely Giga Berlin are all operating below max capacity. Tesla's Vision Autopark is now available outside of North America for the first time for cars with and without ultrasonic sensors. It's confirmed to have been released in countries like Spain, Germany, France, and Italy, but it does require either enhanced autopilot or FSD. Starting tomorrow, Tesla Korea will officially begin deliveries of the Model 3 Performance. This may give a slight boost to Q2 numbers, but I'd imagine a majority of these deliveries will happen into July. Tesla is still participating in the end of quarter delivery push, as it's being reported that Tesla China is hiring back some of the people that were laid off, mostly from sales and service, for the end of quarter push. But they're saying doing so has been challenging because some of those former Tesla employees have already been hired by competing EV companies in China. The word is right now that Tom Zhu, who is now back in China, has been going around to all of the physical stores in China in an attempt to boost employee morale, and they're saying that it's working. Jonas and Morgan Stanley put out a new Tesla stock note, this time a 10-pager talking about the humanoid opportunity, so here are the highlights. We believe the humanoid opportunity is far bigger and faster adopting than autonomous cars, and we'll see a greater quantum of capital behind it. Tesla is at the epicenter of the theme. Investors may need to add new tabs to their Excel models. They built a proprietary addressable market model examining labor dynamics and humanoid optionality across 830 job classifications and concluded the global labor market is a $30 trillion opportunity. They used a long-winded argument for why humanoids are the right form factor. The TLDR is the world is built for humans. Just so you know, that 30 trillion labor number came from them taking 3.4 billion people employed from Statista, which I personally don't trust, multiplying that by $9,000 per worker for an annual salary to get that 30 trillion number. But then for the US market, they did zoom in a bit further, saying we forecast a humanoid population of 8 million units by 2040. That number would be for a cumulative or an installed base, not 8 million humanoids per year. They said additionally, major public companies across industries ranging from automotive to consumer electronics are actively involved in humanoid development. Imagine for a moment a humanoid robot standing in front of a kitchen island on which an onion sits on a small plate next to a paring knife. Now imagine a large warehouse with 1,000 humanoid robots, each standing next to a kitchen island with the onion on a plate next to a knife. As each trial and error accumulates among the group, the entire population learns at the collective rate of the best robot at any point in time. The aggregated learning of the cybernetic collective spools up to achieve an accelerated frontier of group learning. When the physical practice is completed with a winning robot having peeled its onion better than the other 999, best practices can then be shared and further improved through hundreds of millions of trials among their digital twins in a simulated omniverse. And omniverse is the name that NVIDIA used for its simulated humanoid training. They said when it comes to robotaxis, the operating domain is extremely complex, public roads riddled with unpredictable elements. We believe that the humanoid time to commercialization will materialize faster than autonomous vehicles given the variability of the AV operating environment, aka the real world, and corresponding safety implications, human passengers and pedestrians, in contrast with the humanoid form factor which can learn in a geofenced domain like a warehouse or a factory. Even though humanoids have more physical outputs, the difficult operating domain, safety concerns, and regulatory scrutiny that autonomous vehicles face pushes their adoption curve out to the right in our view. Perhaps the most important point they made, I think, is right here. They noted how advancements in AI, different models, neural net training, and compute may progress faster than the physical science of robots, and by that they mean the optics, actuation, battery, and ultimately the manufacturing. Remember, Tesla has designed and manufactured most, if not all, of the parts when it comes to Optimus. It's nothing that they're going to suppliers for or finding off the shelf. Elon has said, given Tesla's manufacturing expertise, that's going to be a huge edge for Tesla relative to many of these other humanoid startups. How that may play out is that eventually there could be hardware bottlenecks for humanoids, and who better to solve those bottlenecks than a company like Tesla, a hardcore manufacturing company. Morgan Stanley said building humanoid robots could range from $10,000 to $300,000 depending on configuration and downstream application. They said per primary component supplier price quotes and proprietary analysis, we estimate Tesla's Optimus current bill of materials is $50,000 to $60,000 per unit X software. And then they shared this image with a breakdown of potential different costs for each different hardware piece of Optimus. And while the actual dollar amounts may not be super accurate given Tesla's vertical integration and thus lack of sight into those numbers, Morgan Stanley said the most expensive component of Optimus would be the hands, making up about 17% of the total. That would be followed by the waist and the pelvis and the shoulder at around 14.2% each. As Farzad has said, the robots are coming, and now Wall Street is preparing, at least Morgan Stanley, by building their extra Excel tab. And if Elon is correct that sometime next year there will be 1,000 Optimus humanoids working at Tesla factories, I think it's time for the rest of Wall Street to follow Morgan Stanley's lead. There's one thing I know even more about than Tesla, and yet I haven't talked much about it at all publicly. The past 5 years, I've been held down by a parasite that I didn't know I had for years. I'm still working some things out with a gut specialist, but performance and the mind-muscle connection are my real specialties. I don't have time to dive into this now, but I want you to know if you're still breathing, your story is not over. I don't care if you're 15 or 75, keep challenging yourself and learn to love the process. Find your vision from first principles and then go after it, and even on the days you're not really feeling it, something is better than nothing. Just like how an absurd number of Americans are malnutritioned, some AG1 may be able to help. You guys know the drill. It's rigorously tested. Huberman and Attia are on board. They just finished independent research studies showing 97% of participants felt more energy after taking AG1 for just 30 days. AG1 sponsors the channel, but let it be a message that I'm about life optimization, using the skills we've each been given to the best of our ability. And if you'd like to support Electrified and your overall wellness, you can grab 5 travel packs and vitamin D3 K2 for free at drinkag1.com/electrified linked below, or you can use the QR code on the screen. Get to work. In case you missed it, Elon said FSD 12.4.2 is much smoother, challenges keeping safety high while increasing ride comfort. That build was supposed to go to internal testing as of yesterday, which means if things were to go very well, then potentially potentially it could go to wide release as soon as this weekend, if not sometime next week. Or it's not where they want it and we end up having to wait for .3 before we get a wide release. Time will tell. Holmars did say hopefully in customers' hands over the weekend if all looks good, to which Elon said, yeah, we just need to confirm there are no safety regressions. Personally, I'm not expecting a wide release until next week at the very earliest. Replying to Tesla Economics saying that Tesla robotaxis will be a $5 to $7 trillion situation, Elon said, maybe higher. And we know Tesla trillions, it just sounds right. To that point, Alex said the year is 2034. Tesla operates close to 100 million robotaxis and over 1 billion Optimus robots, while Tesla is a $24 trillion stock. Legacy Media headline says random new scheme is the next Tesla killer. To which Elon responded saying that is probably an accurate prediction. And not that anybody out there is keeping score, but that would be roughly a 38x from where Tesla stock is today. When it comes to Elon's compensation trial, today Judge McCormick ordered both parties to begin preparing briefs laying out their views on the effect of the shareholder vote on the case. She also asked the parties to agree on a date in late July or early August for oral arguments on the issue. Judge McCormick will hear oral arguments over the legal fee on July 8th, and she might take at least a few weeks before ruling. Even if she does not reverse her January ruling, she might recognize the shareholder vote demonstrated there was little value in winning the case because Tesla shareholders want the record-breaking compensation. That would undermine the plaintiff's attorney's fee request, which is based on the value they provided to the company by rescinding the pay package. It sounds like we're looking at late July or early August before we get an actual ruling on the plaintiff's attorney's fees. From Heinrich Zane, Tesla will be an exhibitor at the IAA Transportation Trade Show in Hanover, Germany, September 17th to the 24th. Dan Priestley, the head of Tesla's semi-program, will be a speaker, and the last time he was at an event like this, we got some interesting takeaways on the semi-program. On the Tesla shop, they're selling Model Y Gemini wheel covers in the dark variant, but currently it is out of stock. $45 for one. There may be some Model 3 performance variants in Tesla's inventory that are currently receiving a discount for demo vehicles. I looked where I'm at, there were none available here, but just a heads up, it may be worth a look. Mercedes said, we're currently assessing how Tesla's latest announcements may affect our plans. We assume Tesla will fulfill its contractual obligations, and we continue to aim for Mercedes customers to have access to the supercharger network in North America later this year. A senior US lithium industry executive is calling for Western car and battery companies to pay a premium for lithium refined in the US, arguing that prices for the metal are too low to cover the cost of building and running processing plants here. This coming from an exec at Albemarle, the world's biggest lithium producer, probably thanks in part to the fact that lithium prices are down 80% since the start of last year. A lot of that pricing is driven by the Chinese market. He said, you can't use a China price in a US market. It's a different product. It should have a different differentiated value. The IRA does offer a 10% tax credit for production facilities, but he said that's not sufficient. Look, he may not be wrong given the higher processing and higher labor costs here in the United States. The problem is for these automakers, most of them are already doing everything they can to reach profitability, and paying higher prices for lithium is not going to help. You know, it's almost like Tesla cutting out the middleman and refining its own lithium in the US was actually the right way to go. Rivian did have its investor day today, but it was almost a 4-hour event, and given everything I have going on personally right now, I have not had a chance to watch it. I did scrub through and zip through the transcript though, and the main thing they were focusing on are all of their cost reduction efforts and their goal of achieving gross profitability by the end of this year. Rivian also outlined long-term financial targets of about 25% gross margin, 10% free cash flow, and adjusted profit margin in the high teens. But they did not give a timeline for those targets. Rivian also put out a new slide deck for their partnership with VW, and as you can see, there are currently 5 vehicles they have under a sheet, taking a page out of Tesla's book. I would not read too far into the shape of these sheets though, they could just be placeholders, it doesn't have to be the actual vehicle. On the far left we have Rivian's R1 lineup and the EDV, then we have the refreshed version of R1 with a new vehicle yet to be unveiled. In the third column we have the R2 and R3 with another vehicle yet to be unveiled, and MSP down here for Rivian stands for mid-sized platform, which leaves 3 new vehicles they're dubbing affordable mass market. Rivian did also pre-announce its Q2 expected delivery number, and they're saying it should be between 13 and 13.3 thousand for the quarter. That number should be just shy of Rivian's Q1 number, which came in at 13.6 thousand vehicles delivered in Q1. And then for Q3 and 4 of 2023, Rivian was averaging about 14.8 thousand units delivered per quarter. I do plan on trying to make some time this weekend to watch the whole event. I actually had a friend text me about this yesterday, and the headline was Randall Cobb, who plays in the NFL, and his family survive a house fire that was caused by a Tesla charger. And there are plenty of headlines just like that already out there, but if you go to read the article, look what you find. Fire investigators have yet to confirm whether or not the Tesla charger was the cause. And this right here was the post from Randall Cobb's wife, and if you look at the actual picture, it's tough to tell, but this right here is an electrical panel. Nowhere in this image do you see a Tesla charger. And look, maybe it was caused by the Tesla charger, but until we get actual confirmation, can everybody relax with all of these headlines? The heat around the USMCA is picking up. That's the US-Mexico-Canada trade agreement. That was the one negotiated by Trump and enacted in 2020. Its rules could let Chinese autos assembled in Mexico enter the US either duty-free or at a nominal 2.5% tariff rate. But to defuse this threat, the US has some options. 1. Customs officials could rule Chinese EVs do not qualify for the low duty or duty-free benefits of being assembled in Mexico. 2. US policymakers could also pressure Mexico to keep Chinese vehicles out of that country, which is already happening. And 3. They could bar Chinese EVs from the US on the grounds that they would threaten America's national security. And unfortunately, that third option will likely be the easiest one for the US government. No matter which option the US goes with though, it's likely going to face legal challenges from companies that want to import the Chinese EVs. But they're saying for a Chinese company like BYD to actually qualify for that duty-free treatment, it's going to be quite challenging because even some North American automakers can't meet certain requirements. But Chinese EV makers could get access to that 2.5% tax if they can show assembling their EVs in Mexico involved a substantial transformation that essentially turned them from Chinese into Mexican cars. Tesla is in the crosshairs again when it comes to air quality issues at Fremont, this time yet again thanks to emissions from the paint shop. Tesla has to hire a third-party consultant to evaluate the current air quality management practices, and Tesla will be required to develop and submit an implementation plan for those recommendations. Earlier this year, Tesla was required to pay a $1.5 million fine thanks to environmental concerns from the Fremont factory. I know everybody has been eagerly awaiting J.D. Power's initial quality study for 2024, and today is your lucky day. The rankings are based on problems per 100 vehicles, and RAM is actually in the top spot with 149. The lower the number, the better. Rivian, Tesla, and Polestar are not officially included in the list because they don't meet certain criteria, but Tesla's score was 266, which would have been second to last on this list, and the only company scoring worse was Dodge. The survey looks at 227 problems, things like climate, driving assistance, exterior, features, infotainment, interior, powertrain, seats, and others. In the press release, they said gas and diesel-powered vehicles average 180 problems per 100 this year, while BEVs are 86 points higher at 266 problems per 100. I'd bet many of you can guess why Tesla is not doing well here, but in case you can't, while there are no notable improvements in BEV quality this year, the gap between Tesla's BEV quality and that of traditional OEMs has closed. Both currently sit at 266 problems problems per 100. In the past, Tesla has performed better, but that's not the case this year, and the removal of traditional feature controls like turn signals and wiper stalks has not been well received by Tesla customers. Tesla stock closed the day at $197.42, up 0.53%, while the Nasdaq was up 0.3%. It was an average volume day for Tesla, trading about 1 million shares below the average the past 30 days. I wanted today's video out a bit earlier as I know many of you will be watching the presidential debate tonight. So get your drinks ready for that one if you're watching this early. Don't forget, check out AG1 linked below if you're interested. Hope you guys have a wonderful day. Please like the video if you did. You can find me on X linked below. And a huge thank you to all of my Patreon supporters.